Christmas dinner. The turkey hadn't even been carved when my father lifted his glass and dropped the blade. We're selling the company. You're getting nothing. The words hit harder than the wine in his crystal. My siblings didn't bother to hide their delight. Smirks stretched across their faces like wolves circling a carcass. My mother lowered her eyes, silent as ever. And me? I asked one question. Who's the buyer? He leaned back, proud, smug. Cardinal Logistics. Biggest offer we've ever had. That was the moment, the pivot point. I let the silence stretch, then gave him a smile he never expected. Dad, I said softly, I am Cardinal Logistics. The laughter in their throats died. Forks froze midair. My father's jaw tightened. My siblings' faces fell. The room felt like a vacuum, all the air sucked out by my words. But that wasn't the bomb. Not yet. I grew up in the shadow of that business. My father built it from scratch, but he raised me in its hallways, teaching me invoices before bedtime stories, contracts before Christmas lights. Balance sheets were my fairy tales. Freight routes, my playground. I loved him for it, trusted him when he promised. All this will be yours one day. But I should have known better. Love doesn't blunt a man's knives. The first cut came quiet. I was passed over for promotions, while my younger brother, an idiot with no sense of numbers, was handed titles like candy. My sister, whose only skill was marrying well, got a corner office. I got scraps. I smiled, played along, kept working. Then came the email. A draft sale agreement, missent by my father's assistant, already signed in principle. The business, the blood in my veins, was being sold. My name wasn't on the beneficiary list, not even a token share. My siblings were, of course. I stared at the email for hours, rage clawing at my chest. But I didn't throw my laptop. I didn't scream. I poured a drink, and I began a plan. Cardinal Logistics was nothing but a shell then, a holding I had set up years ago. But names carry weight, and so does patience. Quietly I acquired freight companies, warehouses, trucking fleets. One by one, folded into my network. On paper, it looked like Cardinal was a giant rising from nowhere. In truth, it was me, patient as a spider weaving its web. I studied his patterns, who he trusted, who he hated, every broker whispering in his ear. And I waited 2 steps ahead. Then I dangled the bait. Cardinal put an offer, large enough to tempt, clean enough to trust, faceless enough to keep him blind. He bragged to my siblings. A legacy sale, he called it. He never asked who was behind the curtain. I let him think he was clever. I let my siblings gloat. I let him look me in the eye and say, "You'll never run this place." All the while, the contracts moved closer to closing. My name, hidden in layers of ink, creeping toward his throat. The deal closed on Christmas Eve. At dinner, I reminded him, "Dad," I said again, slower this time, "I am Cardinal Logistics." The silence was almost holy. My brother's smirk curdled. My sister's fork clattered. My father's glass trembled in his hand. "You," he muttered. "Yes." I cut him off. "Every truck, every route, every contract you just sold. Mine." He tried to laugh, but it cracked in his throat. "You don't." "I had it," I said, leaning forward calm. "The moment you decided I wasn't worth a seat at your table. You built an empire, Dad. But I built a kingdom while you weren't looking. And then came the real bomb. You didn't just sell me the company. You sold me everything tied to it. Every loan you leveraged. Every guarantee you personally signed. The second you toasted the sale, you signed away your house, your cars, your retirement." My siblings turned to him, panic in their eyes. "What does he mean?" my sister whispered. I didn't look at her. My eyes stayed locked on him. "It means," I said, "you don't just work for me now. You live at my mercy." His hand dropped from his glass. For the first time in my life, he looked small. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I stood, straightened my jacket, set my napkin on the table. "Merry Christmas." Then I walked out, leaving silence behind me. That night, I stood outside under the cold stars, breathing freedom. Not sadness, not grief, power. He thought betrayal would break me. But all it did was sharpen me into something he could never control. The business was his legacy. Now it's my weapon. And the best part? He handed it to me himself.